Okay. Oh. Now, we expect a big crowd
No.
because I got that message today. Maybe it wasn't today.
A message today for the meeting?
Yeah.
What message?
That's the one I told you about. Hey, Vicki.
What's happening? Mr. Rudolph,
Hey,
oh my
kiddo.
goodness.
Lordy B.
Lordy B.
Lordy B.
You are still among the living.
I'm
yeah.
amongst the living.
What'd you think about that video of the?
Yeah, it's
Isn't that
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I sent,
yeah, it's cool.
read a note. I wanna know if I can send that out to the board, because it's marked as unpublished, which means it hasn't been posted publicly. I mean, I can't imagine that they would mind, but figure better safe than sorry to ask.
How's your boy?
Good. He's
When
like,
does,
That's not enthusiastic for the state.
uh-huh.
Is everyone going right to school?
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, he's doing good. Yep. I've talked to him all the time. Yeah, he loves it over there. New school. Good.
One time I was asking that.
Well, so, talking to
Yep.
Charlie Gibbons.
And he
Oh,
has a factory
last
for
week.
solar
Last
installation. I have a feeling they
Oh,
probably
Charlie.
would.
Oh, Charlie.
uh-huh.
Because it's
He's
become
brutal,
so
boy.
popular. That
Yeah.
should make that.
Good game
much
of
easier.
basketball.
What'd you say?
Charlie, I ran into Charlie Gibbons. Oh. Yeah. Perryville had a decent game going, but then he scored 14 points the second half, so
Oh.
things kind of went off the rocker.
I think I might be getting rid of my car, Carl,
Which one?
my GMC.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently the 14, 13 to 17 terrains have known engine issues. My car burns oil like crazy.
Really?
Yep, it's only 6 years old and I
That's
got my oil changed 3,000 miles ago. I've had to fill it twice since then.
Really?
It
Well, you got a
burns
problem.
oil.
You got a problem.
You got a serious
And
problem.
what I don't understand is there's a recall on the engine in the 13 and 14 and 15, but not in the 16 and 17, even though they've got the same darn engine. I've noted, I'm like, it's getting worse. I gotta ask them about that, so I scheduled to have it actually taken in tomorrow. Well, the site super last week, it was funny, literally, I just scheduled it that morning, and he's like, your car burned oil. I'm like, yeah. It's like, my wife had same car, 2014, had issue with the engine, something with the oil reservoir that a chip, and it just tells it that it's high on oil and it causes it to burn like crazy. It's like engine blue, $6,000 to fix it. So,
You need to,
yep, fun
Yeah.
stuff.
you either need to get it resolved or get rid of it.
But now is not the time to trade in a car.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, for the love of Lord.
Now, did you do the rock job out there? So, did you put them down and lay them, so there's no grass growing or weeds?
Oh my God, no, but I told them that the rocks are, at least, they're probably fine for you, the steps. They're too
No,
far
wait.
apart for me.
They are at least 6 inches too far.
They are so far
Yeah.
apart. I
Yeah.
think Carl probably saw me. I was
Yeah.
skipping.
You'd have to stand and stop.
No, they are too far
Yeah.
apart.
I mean, I can do it.
Yes, exactly. It's
You could-
fine for
And if
you.
you got high heels on, it's over.
It is
Yeah.
over. You are very right.
You chew up a couple pair of those
Yeah.
ankle leather high
That's-
heels. you
that's
will
for
not be
sure.
happy.
No. Whoever did the work must have been a tall guy.
They were short. That's the funniest part.
Mental,
It was two little guys,
Mhm.
like you, come on,
Thank you.
man, I can't.
They need to take him out and redo it. They really do.
Okay, I just need to pick up those pads tomorrow, if I can. That's
I mean, it
all.
looks nice.
It does,
Okay, good.
but yes, they are too far apart.
And, yeah, the early morning. Okay, so Dan will be cooperative enough to do it. I don't care either. But anyway,
A little bit nervous here, Tony. We need some
Yeah.
people.
hey, and, do you have any 5-inch conduit? If you do, I'd like to replace what we
It's
use.
like my meetings,
So
you never know.
It's so expensive now,
Talk to
it's
Jason.
unbelievable.
Yeah, you-
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, that's
Jim.
what I wanted to ask you. Tony has some conduit he wants to use. I think it's,
I said he's trying to. I told him.
no, it's 4-inch for his house, for his garage over there that he's building. And it's
Nothing to do with
electric,
it.
it's the
We've never been
combination, it's what
asked.
they were using for substation.
I said,
It's not private.
I don't speak for the town, but I think the
And I
town
don't know if that's.
is not
a-
interested
you
in
could
the state
approve it or
having
not.
one
Since
lane within
we
their
can't get
limits.
this stuff anymore.
Okay, it doesn't make any
It's
sense.
ridiculous.
I said,
It's like $6
It will
and 50 cents a
destroy.
foot now for 4-inch.
it will destroy the
Absolutely
potential for
nothing.
private investment into
Okay.
development.
All right, I'll be over there tomorrow.
I said,
Okay,
can
all
I
right,
have?
thanks, buddy.
And I told him, I said, we're working with the town, there'll be a recreational component, we're talking about Italian gardens. I said, there will be
Okay, 3 minutes.
a path through. I said, we've got to work with the MDE to make sure we do it the right way. I said, we'll have access to the town. Okay, there will be a lake. I said, that's all part of it, but I said, it's way too early. So he said, he appreciated the call, he said he'd check into it more. And apparently it's, there's a bill to add more money to DNR for the upkeep of parks and so forth. And the idea is to change the language to incorporate it.
There we go.
So,
Real quorum.
hey, hi Sandra. That's it.
Mhm.
Sandra,
And we've got Martha, Bob.
can we
And
get them all
Bridget.
on?
I don't think you can- Yeah, either speaker or groups. This is Steve,
Hey, Steve.
Mr. Cassard.
Hi.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Bob, doing well. Tom's not gonna be able to join us. He's on his way to Camelback with his family. Go skiing.
Aw.
Where the hell are his priorities? Man, I'm upset about that.
Right.
Or-
You can't zoom and drive at the same time.
I was just telling Vicky, I had a good conversation with Jason, guy. Stop reading. Okay, Tony, who's on the call?
Sandra,
I see
Bob,
Chick,
Chip,
Sandra, Bob,
Bridget, Martha, Ruth. There's
Hey,
Joe.
hey, Joe. Martha,
Yes,
hello.
how are you?
Hey, Bridget,
Hi, everyone.
hello. Okay, we've got a quorum. We're worried about, you guys didn't get on till right the last minute. We're worried about a quorum, but I think we're okay.
Oh, we are now.
You gotta get a bottle out of here, Steve.
I'm good. This is good.
No, there's no water on the top.
Oh, really? Yeah, order me some.
Oh, there might be some left in the reservoir,
Nice and
but
cold.
when the tanks froze
Um,
and crashed, they had to replace new tanks and they use this for the toilets. But I did order more.
So we can't see everybody at once.
Mm-mm. Someone is connecting.
Emergency.
Who?
Danielle.
That's probably not good.
Right.
Okay.
Ms. Hornberger.
Pretty good.
Yes, hello.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me. You guys look like you're in the fishbowl on my screen here.
Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. The February 28th Bainbridge Development Board meeting is called to order. And with that, we have no executive session today. It's all public session. With that, I have a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Make a motion.
I have a motion, I have a second. Second, Joe, thank you. Tony, call the roll. We have to call the roll, don't we? On all votes?
A roll call vote
Yes. Do I have to do that on every
for
motion?
every, I thought it was just decisional. I didn't think for agenda.
Ruth, do I need to call a roll call on an agenda?
Just to be safe
Okay.
and for practice.
Practice.
All right. Carl Roberts.
Yes.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Sandra Edwards.
Off you.
Sandra, are you there? Sandra, we can't hear you. Keep going ahead. Go ahead.
Chick Ham.
Aye.
Martha Barchowski.
Hi.
Joe Brandt.
Yes.
All right.
We lose Sandra.
Sandra, we still have you on mute. Just want you to be aware. Okay, the agenda is approved. Announcements. Tony's going to bring us up to date on the April 28th groundbreaking. Tony?
So the groundbreaking has been moved to April 28th. The reason why we pushed it out was because we want to ensure that the members of the General Assembly can attend. With them being in session, we were aiming for Mondays, which was very problematic for the developers team, especially the folks from Hillwood getting out here, because Mondays are their busy day with their projects. So we said, well, if we can wait till after session, then we don't have to look specifically at a Monday and we can have a lot more flexibility. So that date was chosen between the developer, the EDC, the governor's office, and commerce. So that works for all of those offices. I'm actually supposed to be touching base with Reed and his team this week on some brainstorming and how we want to handle the groundbreaking. They do not want to be the hosts of the event, which I completely understand. That's typically not the role that they like. They like to be more in the back. So it will probably be BDC in partnership with the state of Maryland in some form or fashion. Could just be the state of Maryland general or the governor's office or commerce, whichever they prefer.
Okay, we'll keep you informed on that. Obviously, everybody on the board and plus on the voting members, the ex officio members, plus many other people formerly associated with Bainbridge, as well as elected officials will be invited. It'll be a big event. It'll be held on site. There will be a reception afterwards on site. With that, so we'll have a tent, but we're hoping for a great spring-like weather that day.
Yes.
You received the minutes in advance. And with that, I'm hoping you had a chance to review those minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move from
Okay,
Joe Brandt.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And I have a second from Mr. Rudolph, Dr. Rudolph. With that, are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, Tony, call the roll.
Carl Roberts.
Yes.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Sandra Edwards. Okay. Chick Ham.
Yes.
Martha Barchowski.
Yes.
Joe Brandt.
Yes.
Wonderful. All in favor.
All right, thank you very much. Financial update, raise your hand.
Yep, I'll just make everybody aware. Sandra sent a message in the chat saying she can't hear anything. That's why she's not responding. So I'm sure she's working her way through that. So I'm going to review quickly the board financial report, colorful stuff that you get every month. Our financial condition remains in very good shape. Not a lot of change since we talked last. Our liquidity position is a little over 1.2 million. Virtually none of those dollars at this point are restricted. And the composition of those deposits in the form of money market accounts, CDs, et cetera, remains pretty much unchanged. So we're in great shape there. One of the things that may have caught your eye was a negative account receivable for a little over $4,000 on the balance sheet for the end of January. We've got some journal entries to catch up on. And without getting too far in the weeds with this, we received some funds from the Navy. They were applied to a receivable that we had for that purpose. There will be additional offsets of those funds as we catch up on journal entries for things like our bookkeeper's time and some of our executive director's time, et cetera. So that will get kind of straightened out. We won't see a negative receivable when we look at this again in February. No other changes really on the balance sheet. When you look at our fiscal performance for January, we had and did not anticipate having any revenue in January other than some minor interest income. Our expenses were a little over $15,000. The budget for the month was as high as $41,000. So we've got a very favorable variance of $26,000 for the month of February, and every category is below budget in terms of spending. On a year-to-date basis, we've taken in $403,000. Most of that obviously is the support payments we received contractually from MTPM. We've spent a total of 137. So our surplus through 7 months of the fiscal year stands at $266,000, or a favorable variance against our plan of $77,000. So I think fiscal performance for the month and on a year-to-date basis remains strong. Balance sheet's in good shape, and our liquidity position is where it should be. A couple of other quick points. I talked about the journal entries. Two, I'll just tell you, we have a CD that was at Howard Bank. They have been merged into and become a part now of FNB. We've had a couple of hiccups in terms of having our online banking access flow over. I think we've made the contacts this morning that we need to make in order to get that corrected. I think they've had some difficulties with that for their business clients, and we'll get through that. The game plan is for us to close the small account that we established for the activity where Ken was providing us with funding that we in turn were using to pay for the clearing and grubbing associated with the phase 1 work that was done there. The account balance is down to $29 and change. We don't have a need to continue to have that account open, and don't have any inactive accounts laying around. It's just a bad practice. So we'll close that. And if we have a need for it again, we'll open another one. So that's underway. And I think I reported last time, we have an indication from our auditing firm. While they've done a great job, I think they're evaluating whether they want to continue to do the kind of audit work that we have going on. And we have put an RFP together. Tony's done a nice job of putting together a fairly detailed document that we plan to send to maybe a dozen or so accounting firms. We will send that to the firm that does work for the county. We have some other firm names that do work for municipalities within Cecil County. It's important that this work be done right and be done on time, because our audit results roll up and become a part of the county's audit, and we got to deliver on that responsibility as a component unit. So we're in the throes of getting that sent out, and our game plan would be to get that distributed over the next week or so, give everybody a month to respond, and I hope in April, at the very latest May, we're back to the board with some information on how we evaluated the responses and making a recommendation to you all on who our new auditor will be. Whatever happens, I'm expecting the cost to go up. I think we were in a pretty favorable arrangement where we were previously. But that said, we'll not judge anything before we get it. So I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. That's the Treasurer's report.
Okay, the actual treasurer's report The treasurer has made a motion. Do I have a second to accept the treasurer's report?
Second.
Okay, Jim Reynolds is seconded. Any questions for Chick on the treasurer's report? Just want to reiterate to anybody, Chick, he goes through the treasurer's report the same way every time. And with it, if you have any trouble following the treasurer's report and you don't want to say it, just contact Chick and he can take you through it, or contact Tony and she'll take you through it, because it's about 3 different columns that he refers to, and it's pretty easy once you know his routine. Okay, Tony, in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, please.
Carl Roberts.
Yes.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Chick Ham. Well,
Yes.
Martha Markowski.
Yes.
Joe Brand.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much. We now have our committee reports. Joe Brand, Home School.
Homeschool. What we're waiting on now is a formal letter that will be sent to MHT with the formal request that this group has discussed before, of what we will be looking at in terms of restoration, demolition, et cetera, et cetera. I believe a meeting occurred with the executive team and Tony with MHT to at least discuss this. And I'm going to pitch this back to Tony to summarize that meeting.
Yes, so Carl, Steve, and I participated in a call with Elizabeth Hughes and Beth Cole. Beth is the head of easements at MHT. It was basically our first real follow-up discussion since we've done all of the assessments and the site visits and all the proposals from last year. Elizabeth and her team are familiar with what our thoughts were, but this was the first interactive discussion. We wanted to know how they felt about what the consultants were bringing up, and they didn't raise any significant concerns, but the next step would obviously be a formal submission. We would send something to MHT outlining exactly what our recommendations are and what we feel is reasonable that we could agree to, and then they'll respond to that, and we'll move forward with either the public process for review or starting to outline a memorandum of agreement, but that will in essence be dictated by MHT. I don't expect it to be a quick process.
I just want to add to Tony's report that I appreciate Elizabeth Hughes' very proactive, positive attitude in working with us on the Tone School property. We've moved much further along because of the cooperative attitude. And as those benchmarks are made, we'll move forward. And with that, we obviously will keep the town informed on that. Anything else, Joe?
That's all I've got, unless someone else has any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the communications report. I'm going to recommend to the board do away with the communications committee. And in March, the agenda will reflect an executive director's report. Tony is communicating every single day. Now that there is action on the site, the purpose of the communications committee is sort of moot. When we had nothing going on, the issue was, how do we keep people informed of what's going on and so forth? Well, Tony has accepted that. The executive committee will do some of that at the board meeting, but unless there's an objection, we don't have to take a vote on it. We're going to remove the communications committee and again replace it with and more topics than just communication will come under the executive director's report, and Tony will take responsibility for that. Is there any objection from anyone on doing that?
No.
We don't have to take a vote. I'm assuming somebody will say if they objected on that. Okay, I appreciate your support on that. Mario could not be with us today, but Tony's going to update us on the environmental report.
Unfortunately, we don't have any progress with our dam safety permit. Mark May has been very helpful in trying to assist, and Jennifer Smith has been helpful as well. Their guidance to me was that we have done what is required on our part. We have all of our submissions in, and it's, you know, it's on their staff to get us a response. So they don't want us to stress about the situation. And unfortunately, we'll just have to wait and hear from a response once it comes. We'll continue to comply with our requirements. I'm working on the emergency action plan update that's due May 1st. That's a condition of having a high hazard dam. And then we'll continue to monitor it seasonally for any debris and clear out.
Okay, any questions for Tony on environmental? They're on it. We just working with the state agency. We need to get going. Okay, under old business, phase 1, phase 2, infrastructure, Tony and Steve are going to team up on giving us an update on each of those. Tony?
I'm going to be sending out a YouTube link to the board members following our meeting. Read MRP, they have given one of their project managers the duty of conducting some drone flight footage, so that way they can follow what's going along. And we have a video from about 2 weeks ago that shows the progress. There's been a significant amount of work that's been done for phase 1. We are still in all of the sediment and erosion and stormwater work. As we experienced with the ESCA, there's a lot of clay that needs imported in those basins. There's some rock that needs dealt with. So it's just a timely process, but they're still trucking along very well. You'll see from the video that a lot of work has been done in a very short period of time. They are continuing to work on the engineering, the re-engineering of parcel D for that one basin, Vicky, to handle that with dam safety. As folks might remember, because basin 1 is located directly by 276, it's currently considered to be a high hazard dam, so they're working on re-engineering that to see if they could reclassify that with design for it to be a lower hazard, or if it's going to remain high hazard, then there'll just be conditions that they have to comply with, which we're familiar with. We have to do that with our embankment. The scheduling for phase 1 is building B and building C are the priority because of their size. They go the quickest in the market. Right now, it is expected that they will have those buildings complete in first quarter of 2023. Very exciting, very, very fast time frame.
Questions for Tony on phase 1? I just want to add that and I'm going to talk about it in a minute, but we did a site tour last week. And it's just amazing the difference in about 3 weeks from the last time I was on the site till now. And if we get permission, you send you that footage that Tony just referred to, you will be amazed. Plus, you get to see it from a 10,000 foot view or whatever it is versus driving around in a truck. So it's outstanding. Phase 2.
As we're moving into phase 2, there's obviously a lot of different components. I connected with our project manager at the Navy, Dave Collins. So Steve and I are hoping to head down to the Navy Yard to meet with him and just get an update on where they are in terms of the reporting for phase 2. And then we want to brainstorm timing perspective. As we've mentioned before, the Navy's preference would be to modify the first ESCA as opposed to issue a new ESCA, but time can come very quickly. The ESCA expires terminates in August of this year, so that's something we would have to be ready and have modified by August. So we kind of want to brainstorm and find out what options there are. Could you extend that for just 1 year? Do we have to completely go through the 2-year process? Is there flexibility, or is that rigid? So we're hoping to meet in the next few weeks or so to go over that timing perspective. And we have started to work with the developer to survey the remaining buildings in phase 2, because that's where all the buildings lie. They'll have to be addressed in terms of demolition and then asbestos for any material of concern.
Steve, you have anything to add on phase 2?
I was just gonna bring the board up to date. When we first reported on the Duncan report, and this was something we did two board meetings ago. Just wanted to add that in the original calculation for phase 2, we looked at about the potential for about 644 acres, absent the Tome School, absent the landfills. And if we use the same ratio as phase 1 at 59% for net usable, that would have given us potentially over 380 acres of net usable developable land. We were probably a little too optimistic in using that formula because phase 2 has more issues topographically, and the civil engineering is not complete, but we expect the acreage, the net usable acres, to be likely below 300 acres when that's finally done. But it hasn't been established yet, and we'll talk about that when the day comes. But in the early days, I think we may have overstated the potential net developable acres for phase 2. And I'm just trying to bring the expectations down a little bit, something potentially below 300 acres.
Just a reminder, Steve, what's the net usable acres in phase 1?
Let's see, I think they were 262.
So everybody gets a perspective on that. We're talking about probably about the same amount of net usable acres in phase 2. Is that too high? Is it still too high?
It could be, but that's
We don't know
much
yet.
much more reasonable to say that.
The fact is, we don't know, but given the topography of phase 2, there could be, we'll have to wait for a clarification of that.
And given
Go
the,
ahead.
given the use for what is being proposed, it will likely be larger buildings. There may be parcels where you could fit 8 to 10 acres for a use, but that's not, it's not really gonna do a whole lot. Because if the board remembers back when we did the OEA project and we did that land bay analysis, there was a lot of usable land in phase 2, but they were you got anywhere from 2 to 10 acre parcels, which aren't necessarily usable, and that's because they were matched in between wetlands and buffers.
But the idea is that the whole makeup of phase 2 could be altered a little bit. We don't know. We're just speculating now. That's not a good use of the board's time. With that, there's just more information to come on that, and we're waiting for more analysis of that. Ken Michael's outfit is working on that. Infrastructure. You may notice that Fort Hill is closed. Okay, I'm assuming that the mayor and the town administrator are dealing with any concerns from the citizens about Fort Hill being closed. So,
Yeah.
Infrastructure update.
Oddly enough, I'm not hearing anything.
Good.
Good.
Well, the good news with that might be is people know progress is amiss. So, Tony, why don't you bring the whole board up to date?
Yes, so the infrastructure work has started. Artesian had already started their preliminary survey work for the water line. We don't have a whole lot of involvement because Artesian is holding the contract and they're doing the work. I did reach out and ask them if they could just provide a short update, so that way the board can stay informed in terms of timing perspective. I know the goal for all infrastructure is summer, to have everything ready to go in summer. And then for the sewer line, the first priority was the extension coming across 222, because they knew in terms of permitting and approvals, that was gonna be the heaviest load, getting 222 closed for them to put that line in. Once that's complete, then they will shift complete focus. They already have started to lay out the piping for the extension up to 276, up Bainbridge Boulevard. But the focus was get that extension line in first, and then they'll start the connection up. But same schedule as summer. They're holding fast to their summer deadline.
Steve, you have anything to add on infrastructure? No?
And the grant is working very smoothly. If members remember, we had MRP classified as a beneficiary for the site and for the grant, so that way they've been able to communicate directly with the grants office, and they've been able to hold all the contracts. It doesn't have to pass through BDC from a payment perspective. We're still involved in everything, and I get copies of all the draws, so that way I can keep updated. But it's been a very smooth process. DGS, their grant office, has been fantastic.
County Executive Hornberger, again, thank you for the county's involvement in supporting the infrastructure grant. With that, any questions on phase 1, phase 2 infrastructure from the board? Okay, you received, we're under new business, and you received in the packet a drafted contract for legal services and a drafted contract for center board, we're going to ask you to approve today. Legal services agreement is with David Rawl, who you know retired about a year ago, and was our legals out of the Attorney General's office for years. The purpose for this is to acquire David's services as we redraft the development agreement with MTPM. With that, because 440 acres, 50 acres have been sold, we need to redo the agreement because of David's experience in understanding the total agreement, as well as working with the developer and working with the BDC. He has agreed to enter into a contract with us. I'm glad Roop is on the call because Roop has been fully involved in this. The idea would be that David and Roop would work together to provide this. Members of the board know that the redrafting of this agreement is a critical phase of the development of phase 2 and forward with that, on that. It's a one-pager. It's pretty simple. With that, are there any, the hourly fee is $90. That's the same fee he got when he worked for us under the state of Maryland agreement. You'll notice that there's a maximum of 10 hours per week. We have no idea whether we'll hit that or not with it. I will say that David came up last week and toured the site with Steve, Tony, and me, and with it, he's enthusiastic. I think he's getting a little itchy being on retirement, and he's looking for something to stay busy. Roop, you don't have to say anything, but I know you and David have been in conversation about this. Questions?
Yeah.
Questions from board members? Okay, I need a motion to enter into a contract for legal services. I'm sorry, question, Dr. Rudolph?
Who wrote this?
Technically,
Who is the writer of this document?
Tony.
technically David Rawl drafted that back.
Somebody besides Mr. Albin able to look at it legally? As the gentleman that I don't know.
No, that is our standard independent contractor agreement that we use with all independent contractors. So that was just the format that we used.
No one has to review for spending $90 per hour.
Roop, have you had a chance to review this contract?
No, I didn't. I can review it, and I don't know when I'm gonna, I mean, the board is gonna meet next month, right?
Correct.
And-
May I suggest
I can send it to you right now, Ruth.
and-
Well, it was in the packet.
Yeah, it was in the packet. I did see it Friday afternoon, and by that time, David already signed it, and he sent it in.
Oh, yeah, David signed it a while ago, but that's,
This is not official until the
Yeah.
board approves it. This is not the contract. That's why it's on the agenda today. If there's a feeling that this needs to be postponed for a month because you want somebody else to review it,
I would say that I would have no problem with it as long as we have his sign off. So we can make a condition on the attorney's recommendation that it's fine, and we can go ahead and move on forward.
Did you hear that, Ruth?
Yeah.
If we make it conditional upon your review,
Sure, sure. I can have it back to you by tomorrow. Tomorrow
okay,
afternoon.
we're gonna take action on it. If this is acceptable, conditional upon your approval. Then once you approve it, then the board's action is done.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me, go ahead, Steve.
Dave, I'll clarify from Ruth and David Rawls' communication. David is not going to be practicing law for BDC. Ruth is our attorney legally through the Attorney General's office and the Department of Commerce. David is a consultant and an advisor, and under the circumstances, David would work with Ruth relative to any legal activity. And that's correct, is it not, Ruth? That David would not
That's-
be practicing.
that's
David will not
correct.
be practicing law.
David also has a similar agreement with the NCEC. And he has told me that he would not be practicing law, and I will be the lawyer, and he'll be helping me out. But mainly working on the documents for Bainbridge.
Correct. That was the whole intent. Dr. Rudolph, you want to make a recommendation?
Quick, just a clarification. Will David be then consulting to Ruth or consulting to the board?
Well,
My
because Ruth-
understanding, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Oh, my understanding is that he will be consulting with the board, with the Bainbridge board, but he will also be, because of his vast experience in this role and with Bainbridge, he will also be helping me out. But his
Thank you.
official position would be consulting with the board.
Bridget, did that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Rudolph?
I'd like to make a motion to pass this piece of legislation with condition that Mr. Ruber review it and get his approval.
Did everybody hear the motion?
I heard it. This is check. I'll second it.
Second, okay. Any additional discussion? Hey, Tony, call the roll, please.
Carl Roberts.
Yes, approved.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Chick Ham.
Yes.
Martha Barchowski.
Yes.
Joe Brandt.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Ruth, we appreciate you looking at and getting back in touch with Tony after you review it. The second contract this afternoon, and I'll say from the outset that this contract was written by under a general format. Tony, I had input into it. We allowed Steve to review it. With it, he had a couple of ideas on it. To my knowledge, it has not been reviewed by Ruth. We could do the same thing if that's the pleasure of the board. Steve, as you know, has been invaluable for 3 years since he's been working with us. He is operating under a personal LLC, which is called Center Board. We want to enter into a contract with Steve. You'll note, if you read it, that the fee is $98 an hour. The fee we were paying Medco for Steve's services was $160 an hour. So for you mathematicians, that's $62 an hour cheaper than what we were paying and for Steve's services. Steve is entering this work for two reasons. I'm not speaking for him, for two reasons. One is he believes in the project, and two, he likes working with our board. And those are both two reasons for us to keep him on with that. I believe personally he's critical to the team as we move forward. He's been of invaluable service to Tony as she continues to evolve in her role as executive director. with that. Have any questions on the contract with Central Board?
I would like Mr. Rupert to review.
Would you like to make a motion, Dr. Rudolph?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to have Mr. Rupert review it and give us approval, pending his approval, but we would go ahead and.
You're saying we should act on it pending the approval of
Yes.
Root. Okay, so thank you very much. I have a second to Dr. Rudolph's proposal.
This,
A motion and a second. Tony, please call the roll.
Carl Roberts.
Yes.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Chick Ham.
Yes.
Martha Barchowski.
Yes.
Joe Brandt.
yes.
Is Sandra able to hear us yet?
I don't.
I am.
Yay! How do you vote, Sandra?
Yes.
All right. Good to hear from you, Sandra. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Steve asked me if he should leave the room, and I told him that he could stay and he could handle the critique if it, with that. I think he did okay. Steve, thank you for continuing to work with us. With it. Tony, do we have anybody from the public on today?
That might be.
Do we have any member from the public who would like to make a comment? Hearing none, public comment is closed. I would say that the virtual option is for board meetings is obviously an advantage for those who cannot travel and those for some distance. It does make it a little bit more difficult with that, but I appreciate everybody's patience as we get through this. Tony will follow up on any matters from today that cannot wait until March 21st, which is our next meeting. With that, hopefully she'll be able to send you the drone footage to give you an update. Would you say what?
Frank gave the thumbs up.
Oh, he gave the thumbs up, so you'll get that
I'll get it.
after the meeting and with it, and I know you'll enjoy that. Everybody have a safe and good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl, real quick, I have one other question, real quick. Tony's taking on responsibility with the communication committee. Is there an update on the position, the part-time position she was trying to pull in to assist her?
Yes, so I have enlisted the assistance of Indeed. There were a number of submissions. I followed up on resumes and have started to schedule interviews next week. Fingers crossed, third time's a charm.
Bridget, I appreciate that question because I did not state the communications committee properly. In the off week, Tony, we have a Zoom call with the executive committee and the communications aspects that Tony will bring before the executive committee. So she will not be operating for a month without guidance and the opportunity to discuss strategies and so forth. That'll be coming before the executive committee with that. So I appreciate, Bridget, your question because I realized I did not accurately describe that process. The communications committee was already absorbed into the executive committee, and we're just going to take it off as an item on the agenda.
Excellent, excellent.
Okay, thanks. And Bridget, as always, we appreciate any support you can give us on that. I'm sorry, do I have a motion to adjourn? Jim, I have a motion to Jim Reynolds, second. Second from, please call the roll to adjourn. Tony?
Carl Roberts.
Yes.
Jim Reynolds.
Yes.
Dave Rudolph.
Yes.
Sandra Edwards.
Yes.
Chick Ham.
Yes.
Martha Barchowski.
Yes.
Joe Brandt.
Yes.
Our meeting is much better with Sandra Edwards' voice being heard. Thank you, Sandra. All right.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a safe and good evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Everybody, wait.
Hey, Tony,
Yes,
when will the groundbreaking ceremonies begin? April 28th?
Time
what time?
Yes, what time?
to be.
It will, to be determined, but it will probably be a late morning into early afternoon.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Once we have that, we'll get it to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good night.
Good night.